I even find days myself where I just sit home and I watch YouTube videos all day, and then I go to bed, I'm like, woo, I did nothing today.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Ordinary Freaks. B and Eddie here, and this week we have another amazing content creator.
Yes. Thank you.
His reach has gotten him to work alongside big brands that we aspire to hopefully be there at one point.
Someday, absolutely.
Brands consist of the tech, nutrition,
Logitech, Quest, G Fuel,
name drops,
Major League Gaming. Yeah, you name it. I'm big into esports, but that reach is soon expanding.
Exactly.
Nice.
He goes by the name of Didslive.
Yep.
So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys.
Welcome,
Thanks so much.
man.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. So yeah,
Thank you.
Dive right into it.
Appreciate you taking the time. So I want to get right into it. You know, we have a lot of content creators right now. What does that mean to be a content creator? How did you get into this realm of creating content?
I was in college and in art classes, and I can't draw. I literally cannot draw. Like, I took 2 art classes in college because they were requirements for graphic design, and I literally only passed because there was some progression. I never once, I think in my whole year of drawing class, I maybe was featured on the wall because they always like put the best on the wall like once. And I like everybody else in my class was always on the wall, and I had like one. And it wasn't even the one that I thought was like my best work. It was just like the one that had like the best random composition to fit the means of that assignment. And I was like taken away. I'm like, I'm on the wall. And then I actually took a picture of it because I'm like, I know that this ain't gonna happen again, so I better get it on camera. But I think that content creation, especially now with like the media of, you know, digital cameras and how that's evolving and how there's different means of, now you're finding like art installations that are more than just like paintings. You're getting actual moving art and people dancing. And there's so many different ways of content creation, and they're all starting to really well blend together, which I think is interesting because you're starting to get people that are great at individual things, and now you're starting to get that collaboration going, and that's really powerful, and it's really going to push, I think, a lot of people, especially people our age, really far forward. I mean, we had an instance where we had a guy come into a coffee shop with us, and we had all of our cameras strewn about the table, and he walks in, he's like, so I noticed that you guys got like 10, 15 grand worth of camera gear on the table, and he just bought like a brand new like $6,000 camera himself, and he's like, can I take a picture of you guys? And we're like, yeah, man. But like for him, that's unheard of to have that sort of collaboration, to have that all come to fruition in one space. So it was kind of cool. But
And so art, is there, I guess, when it comes to video creating, when did you start getting into that?
I bought my first camera, Canon T3i, maybe 6 or so years ago. Back when, I don't know who listening or even if you guys, but when Machinima was first getting into like Call of Duty, and it was like C-Nanners and Hutch and Sark and those guys, I wanted to be a part of that. And I'm like, I'm just as goofy as these guys, totally living that would be sweet. So I wanted so badly to get into that. So I bought a Canon T3i. Doesn't have video autofocus, doesn't do really good video, just really sucks. But that's what I had, so I used it. I'm like, I'm gonna be this big YouTube superstar, and I'm gonna get all this stuff, and that absolutely did not work. That just didn't happen. I didn't even get close, and I knew that I still had a good passion for creation. So I used that to then, okay, so then I'm doing YouTube and I'm into video games. So I did Let's Plays, and I started to branch out and do different things. So the pro and con of that is I was always known for doing different things, and I succeeded to an extent at everything that I tried. But the problem is I never was great at one thing. So people didn't know me for one thing. So as that age of like YouTube evolved, everybody was known for something and was able to really hone in on that. And I was like that outcast that really was kind of just dipping his feet in everything because it got clicks or because it got views. I mean, it just didn't really work for me. So I totally quit video, totally quit YouTube, not like officially, but so I got into Twitch live streaming, which was then my way of still being on camera and still being a personality, because I knew that people liked me more for my personality than my gameplay, because I suck at every video game that I play. So I'm like, we're just going to push the personality. So ironically, my best games on Twitch.tv were chess and City Skylines. So those are two very different games already in themselves, and I couldn't play any like AAA title and succeed. I just couldn't because I was on the bottom of the list. So I played chess, and I did a thing where I did 10 push-ups for every person that followed. It was a great ploy. It worked out really well, and chess was interesting because I had a moment where I just challenged anybody that wanted to play. Like anybody want to play, I'm on chess.com. I'm like, whoever wants to play, and I was like a 900, 800 rating in 10-minute chess. And people like 1800, like grandmaster titles were like, I mean, I don't want to embarrass you. And I'm like, I don't care. Just like play me. I'm not here to win. Like I know I'm not going to win. So like just play. We're just going to play a game. I'm going to learn so I can get better. You can teach me, analyze the game. Everybody that I played that was better than me would analyze, okay, here's where I knew I had you kind of thing happen. And it worked out that way. And then with the whole push-up thing, I was actually playing Pokemon Yellow, and I forget the guy that did, but I had somebody host me and raid me because every so often a big streamer will like just find random channels and be like, here, let's go here. And I happened to be one of them that was selected, and I had like 300 people follow me, and they're like, guess how many push-ups you're doing and stuff. So it took me I'm like, all right, I'll make a deal with you guys. Like I'll do them, but don't expect them in succession because it's just not happening. So it took me like 5 hours, but I had everybody done, and I actually still maintained maybe 5 of those relationships today because I was able to prove like, hey, I'm making this commitment and I'm holding to it. I'm not just gonna like crumble under the fact that I got this blessing of this big guy following me and hosting me and stuff. So that kind of evolved into that. And then I got into photography because I'm like, well, this camera takes photos too. I might as well use it because cameras are really more photo originally than video. So I started taking photos of just various things, nature, and I followed the progression that I see everybody else on Twitter, especially with esports, going through. Take pictures of trees, take pictures of nature, take picture of product, and the whole stereotypical hold the shaker out in your hand and take a picture of it. But then everybody's second lens is the 50 millimeter, and they hold it out, and it's only like the wrist and the shaker, and they really don't get that concept. So I went through that progression, and then within that, I kind of realized, okay, so I'm good at photo, I'm getting all of these clients, but like, where can I advance this? What's something that other people aren't doing? And especially with esports, you're either an esports photographer or you're an esports videographer. There's really nobody that does both. And I haven't gotten any work within both because I've advanced my own personal brand beyond esports, but there's so many people that are great at one thing or great at the other, but nobody really does both. So then I got back into video because I always push the idea of telling stories with photos. I don't want to see a photo that doesn't tell me a story. It's one frame. You have one frame to tell me a story. And I want the composition, and I challenge people. Everybody that asks me, how does my photo look? One is probably going to be out of focus. If I get a Twitter message, 90% of them are just out of focus. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, but like, it's just out of focus. Like, you just got to worry about that. But then I'm like, what's the story? So people always ask me, like, how's this photo? And they want to get a ton of retweets. They want to get noticed by all of the companies that I am sponsored with and affiliated with. And I'm like, it's a great photo, and it looks good. It's sharp. You got this. You got all the aspects right, but what story does it tell? I'm known, and even at LinkedIn Local Dubuque last week, I was known for, while the panel was going on, I was trying to find people taking pictures and videos on their cell phones and take pictures of that happening, because that tells the entire story of, like, I'm at this event and I'm seeing this story through the lens of somebody else's lens. So whatever they're capturing, I'm telling a whole different story than just, here's these people, they're on this panel. Here I'm telling a story of, like, it influences so many people beyond just the person on the panel. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really important. So everybody that comes to me with questions, I'm like, what story does that frame tell? And then I'm like, okay, so that's one frame. So why don't I tell stories that last 3 minutes, last 4 minutes? And that's when I met Q. I got into LinkedIn, and now I'm doing LinkedIn video, and I'm able to tell visual stories beyond just photos. And I think that it's really helped me excel because I'm able to take a single frame and I'm able to compose shots really well. So now I can think about what my in and out point is for each shot. So I can say, here's the story I'm trying to portray, or here's the mood I'm trying to portray, and I can go through that with in mind if I was taking a photo of this. So every shot that I do, especially like when I record B-roll for like product reviews on YouTube, I think all the time, can I take a photo of this shot and it be just as effective? And if the answer is yes, then I go through with it. If the answer is no, then I try and how can I make that happen? Because I think that's important, that where it's a photo, whether it's a video, your podcast is both audio and video, you're able to tell stories. And I think that once you get deeper into what that story is, you'll find that those are the people that get successful because they're able to go beyond just here's this frame, here's this photo, here's this video. You can make a video and it can be with the most expensive equipment, but if it doesn't tell a story, you're going to lose the people's interest.
What's the point?
You know, I always, whenever I show people my work, I know I watch them more so than I watch my video because I want to see when their eyes go away.
Yeah.
And the second I see their eyes go away, I know that's where I lost them.
Yeah.
So I use that and I look at that and I'm like, okay, so how can I improve that? You know, maybe the shot was too long, maybe the story dipped out of sequence a little bit too much then, and I can utilize that and kind of work better on the next one. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a long-winded way of how I got to where I am.
No, that's a great answer.
I mean, I love that you know that you got that energy because I think when we first met, like one of the first things I stuck out to was like your passion, your work ethic. Like, although we were trying to meet, you're like, well, what's up with you guys? Like, no, you got to do more. Like, Eddie, you're slacking. And like, I'm like, chill. Like, you just met me. Like, you know. So, but it was like it's infectious and like we love that.
I always tell people I start where other people stop because, and that's exactly what I told you guys. And like, you guys have such a great concept and you guys have such a great thing, and it works on the surface. But you even replied with like, you're absolutely right. We're absolutely thinking the exact same thing because you know that you love what you have and you love where it's at, and it's totally fine to push to anybody in the world with what you have now. But you both, all three of you, want it to be better and know that it can be better. And you're like, how can I make the next one better? How can I make the next one better?
Yeah,
and that's what makes it a long-term success.
Exactly. So I wanted to ask you, where does that hustle, that work ethic kind of stems from?
My dad always tells people when he's out and about, he's like, I could be home watching TV right now, but I'm not. And you know, I have a work schedule currently where I don't know what tomorrow brings. I literally don't. I mean, it's a weekend, but I can get a call that some emergency happened. I have to go wherever in the country to fix it. And I take that time and I cherish the time that I know that I have off and that I figure I have off because I can't currently schedule the time to do things. So if I know that I have off or if I know I'm going to probably have off, I just get everything done because then I'm good for if something happens. I always like to prepare for that what if moment because then no matter what happens, I'm good. I can record and stockpile LinkedIn videos daily and I can still upload them daily if I know I'm going to be gone all week because I've done all the work in advance. I've done it well. I have more time to focus on it. And really, it's just fun. I just love, like, if I always tell people, if I'm not working, I'm working. Because, like, you know, everybody has their job and everybody has what they love to do on the side. Exactly. And it doesn't feel like work on the side, but, like, it kind of is to an extent because, like, you know, you're spending time on it. So people are like, you know, I always get this, I have this 40-hour work week. I just can't, you know, I get home, I'm exhausted. I'm like, that's why you're not succeeding, because you're not getting home from your job and following your passion. You're stuck in the mindset of, I have this job, I need this job to make money, but I want to be here. Well, what is the bridge that needs to be gapped? The fact that when you get home, have some dinner, get some exercise, take a nap, whatever you got to do, and then go follow that passion. What is it that you want to do, and what can you do today to get one step closer? When you go to bed tonight, I want everybody in the world to be one step closer to their passion than they were when they woke up, because that's just progress. And then within that, like, I don't consider myself a hustler because I just love doing it, and I have done it my whole life. It's just how I've always operated, because it's my side hustle that people say that I hustle is fun, and it's enjoyable. And to me, it's not really hustling. I'm just like, I get home, and that's when I start to have fun. That's when I start to love what I do. And like, you know, so everybody has that misconstrued conception of like, you just hustle, you just keep working. I'm like, I'm just having fun. Right. Like, that's just what I love doing. So it's cool to hear that, because for me, it's just, I just get home and I just do. You know, a lot of with esports, I got Logitech because I took a picture of a keyboard and a headset that I had of theirs. And that's just me at home with nothing else to do in a camera. Like, let's just take some random pictures. And I set it up and I worked on, you know, I learned composition in that photo. I learned how to work with depth of field and how to, you know, really place objects in the composition to tell a story. So I was able to, with an inanimate object, be able to tell a story of, it's night, you've got the RGB lights on the keyboard, you've got it was a red headset, so I used red lights on the keyboard, and it's like the headset was down, and it told the story of, I just got done doing some really great things in a video game. It's night, I'm going to bed, but here's what I just unleashed upon all the opponents out there. I just did it all, and then you're done. You have the headset down, you have the keyboard on, and they loved it. They emailed me that day, like, I was part of their team within 2 days after that photo, and it was like, it was one photo, and all I did was tag them. And it was so simple. I just set it up, and like I used that time like to learn things, but I did not take that picture with the intent of getting their attention.
Right.
I just was bored. I had the stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it, and I did it. And now I'm part of Logitech's team, and I've done NDA work for them, and I've done release work for them, and just because I took a picture because I was bored and I wasn't sitting home just watching TV, I applied myself and my passion to what I had. And, you know, people say, I don't have a great camera. I don't have all of these things. Start with what you have. I had the headset. I had the keyboard. I bought that with my own money. I used all of my equipment, and I did it. And now I'm like their number one media guy because I just did it. And now I'm where I am now with them. And that's just all it takes.
Yeah. That's so dope that you're able to get that brand and not even going for it. You know, part of it is just, like you said, I think, and we talked about this before, like just doing it or just getting over the hurdle of like, dude, let me just take this picture and post it. Whether it gets something or not, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm learning from it.
I wasn't putting my mental attitude on whether or not that photo succeeded.
Exactly.
And I think too many people do, especially with like people that I see with G Fuel. They want G Fuel to see it. They want G Fuel to retweet it because they know that it's a quick ticket into a lot of impressions. And that's fine, but then they start to lose track of what does this picture tell story-wise? Why am I taking this picture? And then they learn nothing from it.
Right.
They just fail and they don't know why. And then they get really mad. And then they start to post shit on Twitter. And it's like, okay, you failed for numerous reasons that you're not even seeing. And all it takes is for them to look at themselves in a different way to say, why did I fail during this? Like, what was not successful with this? Was it out of focus? Was the composition bad? Did I take it in front of a bunch of tree leaves that really are irrelevant to the story that the product tells? So, like, I had early success with G Fuel because I took pictures of me either drinking, because it's like an energy supplement, or I put it on the desk with like the lid open, half drank, and then it's like, okay, I'm telling the story of it's probably half empty, so he's probably drinking some, and now he's playing video games. So I would set a 10-second timer, go sit down, totally suck at every video game, so it's not like I could, so I would probably like, I actually do have a funny story where I played a game of CSGO, or actually it was Overwatch, and our team won. And I captured like that 6 seconds of like the victory logo popping up, and I had that on loop, and I would just 10-second timer, sit down, and then look like really excited because we won, but I did nothing to help that victory. And but like it worked, and it told the story. And like, you know, people think, okay, I have this item, I want this item to be in focus, but behind it, tree leaves tell nothing. Me playing that video game and winning at that video game tells the story of what this product did for me and why it helped me win the game. Without you even knowing it, your eyes go from the shaker being half empty to me, to the screen of the game being a victory. You have to, as a visual storyteller, tell the story of my start here, point 2, point 3, point 4, and then, all right, I'm back to 1. So you can use, Gestalt's rules are something that you can Google, because there's tons of them, but like, you know, don't have your frames cut off improperly, don't put a random object like at a diagonal in one of the corners and then have like empty space, because then it just like crowds the screen, and you know, you have to keep your viewer's eyes flowing from where you want it to be. So you have to compose each shot that way, and that's really important to helping tell that story. And that's just how it succeeds, I guess, you know.
You talked about 2 brands you kind of worked with or got recognition from. How did, you know, the other brand deals come about? I mean, after you got that first one, were you a little bit more not seeking it, but you were like, you know, this is actually a thing that can happen, and we're a little bit more tactical about it?
The first company that I got, so I was on Instagram. I didn't really, like, I had aspirations to be that big guy, but I had no idea how to get there. So I got a random message from this company out of Chicago that made t-shirts, and they're like, we'll send you one, just take a picture of it. I'm like, this is new, like, how does this work? I'm like, oh yes, let's make this deal happen. So they sent me a t-shirt, I took a picture of it. It actually did really well. Up until I started cleaning out my feed, it was still in the top 10 most like photos, and like it was really cool. I told the story. The t-shirt has something about like, I forget exactly what it said, but it was like a gamer that was like kind of exhausted and had a few controllers in hand. So I took it with just like, I held a bunch of controllers up, and I'm like, it related. I forget exactly how it did with what was on the shirt, but so I posted that, and then I bought a sweatshirt actually from this same company that they had like a sale, and I had a friend that really liked their stuff and took a picture of their stuff and then tagged me in it. And I'm like, this actually looks really cool. I'm just going to buy the sweatshirt. Again, totally not looking for anything. Just bought the sweatshirt because it looked really awesome. Took a picture of it. And again, they got to me. And now I've been with them for 2 years. I've sold $10,000 of their product. Just because I took a picture and I posted it on Instagram, and then they want it. They're like, yeah, you got a good attitude. You got a good mindset. And that's why I swear in person, but I will never swear on social media.
Okay.
My brand on social media stays, the voice from platform to platform stays the same, because anybody that comes to me from any platform can look at my feed and know that that's who I am. And I keep it clean. I don't post political stuff. I don't post religious stuff, because as a company coming to me, they don't want to see that drama. It might get them, like, there are people that have that and they sponsor people that do, but like from my brand, I don't want that to be a factor. I want them to come to me, know who I am without ever talking to me in person. They can see my videos and see my personality and see how I inflect and how I interact with people, but I keep everything on social media clean so that there's no question that when they approach me, they know exactly what they're getting. They know what I can do, and I have now all of these numbers. I can be like, I've done this with this company, I've done this with that company, and I can be like, I can do this with you. Like, it's guaranteed gonna happen, and that's just how it is. So I've accidentally stumbled upon a lot, but my first actual sponsorship, I got this company, brand new company, into gaming apparel, and it was really cool. I actually really liked their stuff. Their logo was really cool. They made really cool projects, had a really good kind of brand association with them. And I got them a deal to basically sell like 3,000 worth of product a month. It was kind of a service where I would stream and they would host, like, I don't want to say giveaways, but they would have, like, as more people interacted with the stream, the price of that object went down. And they hosted different things. And as I'm on this meeting with them, I'm listening, and all of a sudden I hear all of this keyboard clicking. And I'm like, man, he's taking some really good notes right now. Like, I am impressed. I'm like, I'll totally admit, every meeting that I have a Word doc open. And 95% of the time I have like one word down of like, just because a lot of it is, at least for me currently, is a lot of like future plans. So I don't really have a lot to like actually take down. But this guy's just going to town, and I'm like, this guy is on top. So I'm like, dude, you got to send me those notes. And he's like, what notes? And I'm like, dude, I heard you on the keyboard like the whole time. He's like, yeah, I was playing video games. I'm like, oh my goodness. I just brought you into an opportunity to sell 3,000 units a month, guaranteed, for like, it was like a year-long contract. And right then and there, I'm like, this is not. No, like, I can't do it. Like, and still to this day, I still see them struggling to get to where they want to be. And I'm like, I could have really helped you. And that was when I was nothing. That was when I really didn't have a presence. And that was like the first one. So I stopped working with them. And then like I said, like, I accidentally stumbled on so many different things, like Logitech and G Fuel. And G Fuel I actually got because my fiance was sponsored with them first. And they cold emailed her because she's big on Instagram. Said, hey, we see you're into gaming, let's try this out. So I kind of used that to like, then I started to take pictures of their product and like, hey guys, guess who I'm engaged to, sort of thing. And it worked that way, but like Quest was just kind of accidental. Like, I mean, all of the ones that I do, and I, going with like the branding thing, I won't be a sponsor of anybody that I don't use or that I don't believe in. Absolutely. So like, there's a product that I'm sponsored with that's basically like a little pillow that you can put on your lap when you're gaming, and it kind of keeps your posture upright. I have horrible posture, so I'm like, I'm going to buy one. And I sent him an email like, I'm buying one, like, already, regardless. But like, I want to help this out because this is something that I know a lot of gamers need. And now I'm sponsored with them because I made a story, I made a video, and boom, now I'm sponsored with them. So like, too many people are afraid of no. And I did kind of want to talk about this, and I guess I'll use this as a segue, but like, people are too afraid to ask. My dad does Tough Mudders. He went to our local gym, Anytime Fitness, and he's like, I have this team. What can you do for me? Like, really, just approach him like, what can you do for me? He's like, well, we have local funds for each individual gym, but we don't really have access to like the big pool from like corporate. But he's like, we can give you $200 and t-shirts for everybody. Why not? Right. He just asked, and now he's getting free t-shirts for everybody on the team and $200, which is like, it ended up being like half of everybody's admission ticket, which then they volunteered, and volunteers get more off. So they basically got free admission, volunteered, got a free t-shirt. And on that event, I was taking pictures for them, which got brand recognition for them as well, because everybody had their t-shirt on. But then their Tough Mudder live team followed them through one of the obstacles. And I was like, look at the Anytime Fitness team, and like got all this brand recognition. So now we have that to push them. And now this year they're coming back and sponsoring us with more money and with other things. So then now he sent an email to Tough Mudder, and he's one of 200 in the world that's a Tough Mudder ambassador. So now he gets to bring people in officially as a Tough Mudder ambassador. So now he's looked at all of the people that sponsor Tough Mudder, and he sent an email to every one of them. We now have 13 cases of Celsius in the basement. We now have Killcliff. We have all of this product because he just sends emails, and he has a story. He lost like 60 pounds or whatever, and he's like, I know I'm not your model, 30-year-old beautiful person, but I'm a story that you lack. A lot of these companies have magazine covers. Who's on the cover? There ain't no 58-year-old man on the cover. That's for sure. That's for sure. But they need that because that's reality. That's what people know they can achieve. And he's already inspired hundreds of thousands of people, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands of people. And that's just him. He just asked. And he's like, why? Again, that's why he's like, you can sit on the couch and watch TV, or you can make something of yourself. Have fun and create a life. He still has a job that he loves, but he's able to also have a side hustle that he loves also. And he's like, I just love my life right now because I made it happen. He's like, I asked these people to do this for me. I said, I got no a lot of times, but I have a lot of yeses, and it got me to where I am now. And I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And like, it's such a, you listen to it and you're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, and it's funny because it's a recurring message. We've had multiple guests, and it's always, especially I think to us, we obviously recognize because we're here, we're listening to you guys, we're connecting with you guys, and for me, I take that personally as well. I'm like, these people were coming in, are here doing their thing. It's pretty great to hear you guys have the same message throughout. I'm like, obviously they're all successful and they're all saying the same message. So what does that mean?
Right.
Well, and that's why like Tim Ferriss is so successful, because everybody ends up kind of saying the same thing. Yeah. And it's like, well, there's your answer. Like he doesn't bring anybody, like you guys don't bring anybody on the show with a golden ticket because it doesn't exist. Right. But everybody gets to where they want to be in their own separate ways. And it just so happens, hey, maybe there's a similarity there.
Exactly. No, I agree 100%. So when it comes to LinkedIn, you've touched a little bit on this, with the composition, the pictures and video. For people out there creating content, is there any maybe top 3 tips or things that you would give them on how to create better content?
Depending upon what kind of content they're creating, I always tell people, like, when you record and you're using, first off, portrait mode, no. Do not hold that phone vertically. Hold it horizontally. Nobody likes a vertical video because then you have to, most platforms are either square or horizontal. So then you have to put a background version of it that's all blurred out, scaled up, and looks hideous. Yep. It just doesn't work. Record horizontally, people. You will thank me. It will do very well. Your phone right now is horizontal. Every camera ever is horizontal. Like,
so much easier to hold.
Just do it. Yes. Look into the camera lens. So when you hold a phone out, and I get this a lot, and I'm subject to it a lot because I purposely bought a camera that doesn't have a flip out screen, so I don't keep looking at myself because I love admiring compositions, regardless whether I'm in it or not. So when I'm in it, I'm like, ooh, yeah, okay, let's move this way a little bit, bring this into the background a little bit, and I can't do that because then I'm not looking I'm looking into your eyes. I'm not looking, because when you look into a camera lens, you're looking into the camera lens, and you're interacting with the viewers more intimately because you're able to, like, that you're looking at the lens, and it's hard to look directly into a lens because you're like, okay, it's an inanimate object. You can see like all the reflections in it. It looks weird, but like when you're able to do that, you're able to tell the story. And if you're looking away and you're doing this, you're not, if you go to a meeting and somebody's like looking over your shoulder, you're going to be like, I know right now that they're not interested in what I'm trying to do for them or whatever the conversation is at hand. So look into the lens. It's a lot more intimate. It works a lot better. I like to say hold the camera a little bit above parallel to your nose because nobody wants to look up your nose. It's more appealing to look up than it is to look down because then you get the whole double chin. You start to slouch a little bit.
I get the double chin either way, man.
Well, yeah, me too. Yeah, but like if you hold the camera up, you're immediately bring your posture up, which builds confidence. A tall posture shows confidence, and when you hold the camera up, you're kind of forcing your center of gravity to shift a little bit back, and you're accidentally forcing yourself to look more important. And I think that really goes to tell stories a lot better as well. And that's really important to storytelling because then you have a good message. You're looking into the lens, and the people are immediately engage with whatever that you're talking about. No matter what it is. I could be selling ketchup. And if I'm looking up and I'm looking to the lens, you know that I am damn well passionate about ketchup. And you know that I love ketchup. And that's a random example. I don't love or hate ketchup at all. It is a great condiment, but I have no significance
now
to
ketchup brands are going to be sending
yeah, right?
ketchup. Man.
Heinz, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of my 2 immediate tips, because then you can start to. Oh, I guess the third tip then is as well is you can use your phone. Totally fine. Yeah. That applies to LinkedIn more than other platforms, but people are like, well, you have this great camera. And I'm like, I do, but my message is no better or worse than the people that use their cell phone. Mm-hmm. And if you do that's why I say, look into the lens, because when you have your cell phone, you're probably going to be in selfie mode, and you're looking at yourself in the screen, whereas your lens is just to the side of that. And if you've ever taken a selfie, you know that when you're looking at yourself, your eyes look just like you're not quite paying attention. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you can use your phone and it works. It takes great video these days. I mean, especially with like newer phones, they take great video, arguably better video sometimes, and the audio is fine. It's a single channel of audio, but it still sounds great. You're still able to edit it. You're still able to adjust it. And I know people on LinkedIn that edit their whole video on their phone, and it looks far superior than 90% of other creators, even on YouTube, because they take the time, they do the right things, and their message comes out far better than anybody else's. So yeah, that's kind of my 3 immediate tips.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Aside from obviously collaborating, right, what you've done, let's get now to the present day. Okay. And maybe what you're going to be hitting in the future. Day. I know you've talked about, you having your bullet points, but there are a lot of future things that you might not know how those are going to come about, right? Because I think as a creator, you got to do, and you essentially you can expect to a certain degree. But then at the end of the day, if you're expecting, that's when you're failing. Yeah, absolutely. When you're not expecting anything in return, that's when the magic really happens. So tell me about some of those stuff that you've been doing aside from LinkedIn, talks, anything else.
I mean, really, a lot of my focus has been on LinkedIn and those talks. I've been preparing myself as a person more so because, like I said with branding earlier, you have to be an approachable brand as a person to be able to exceed in anything that you do. So like we were at LinkedIn Local Dubuque, and I'm trying to keep this not related to that, but like people are confused as to why video, and like it becomes this, LinkedIn's not an online resume, which I'm actually ripping that kind of right from the message that they gave at that event, but like it's about you and it's about your brand. Yeah. So like I've been spending a lot of time personally just like bettering myself as a person, learning a lot about who I am and what helps me succeed, whether that's diet, whether that's exercise, whether that's waking up at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, and there's been some other developments personally that I'm not going to get into, but it helps you appreciate things more. And I'm learning to, like as busy as you can be, it's the people that help you get to where you want to be. And whether that's mom and dad, whether that's a sister, a family member, a close friend, like they are the people that help propel you to your best work. And if not, then they're a toxic person. They need to be eliminated from your life. And unfortunately for me, I've had that kind of happen both ways, but it's taught me a lot of just respect the time that you have. And that goes back to the hustle. Like I respect the time that I am not at work. And I use it in the most valuable way possible because that's when I learn who I am and how I operate the most. And that helps propel me to be who I want to be to these brands. And the beautiful thing is, I had horrible self-confidence issues growing up, and I was bullied and all this stuff. I had Harry Potter glasses in middle school, and it didn't really work out. But then once I got contacts, it helped boost my self-confidence a little bit. And now, over the last year especially, I've taken my content less from I want it to be successful and more of I want me to be successful. And that's kind of how, I went from YouTube to being like, I want my YouTube channel to be successful. I want all these clicks and all this stuff, to Twitch where, okay, now I'm working on my brand and who I am because that's what really matters. To now LinkedIn where it's like, I am both a great creator and a great person. So now I have, YouTube, I'm like, I'm funny, but I'm just clickbaity. Twitch, I'm like, I suck at every video game that I ever played, but like here, I'm a fun person to be around. Yeah. And now LinkedIn is like, I can help people. And I love that more than anything. I love being able to help somebody who, because there are so many people that have helped me in my life that I just want to give back because like everybody has one moment of, well, what if? And I always say, like, it's harder to do in practice than it is to say, but like, I'd rather go to bed saying, oh, well, than what if? And I've learned how to do that while still maintaining who I am. And my fiance has helped me a lot with finding out who I am and staying with who I am, because that's when she loves me the most, and that's when she finds me the most entertaining. So it's a lot of I just want to be me, because that's when I have the most fun. That's when I'm the most successful. So a lot of it outside of all of these, like I've learned a lot from people on LinkedIn, and I've learned a lot from people on other platforms, but a lot of it has been the time offline and developing who I am, and being able to use those practices, like only playing video games until 8 o'clock in the morning and things like that, to better myself and better me 3 years from now. That when I'm 27, 3 years from now, I'm gonna look back on this moment of where my life will, within the next month, completely flip on its head. And I'm gonna say, I'm glad that I put those steps forward, because it makes me who I wanna be, and who I hate looking back 5 years and like, geez, I wish I knew that, or I wish I was mature. Yeah. Like 5 years ago when I started making YouTube videos to be on Machinima with Sark and Hutch and them, I was not mature enough. It just is, it's a fact.
It's true, yeah.
So now I'm building that maturity to, okay, I have no fear of doing this now, and 3 years from now, I'm going to look back and be like, you know what, you're right. For once, I want to look back 3 years and be like, you did the right thing there. Yeah. And that's really what I'm building offline. And I think that's awesome. Really important.
No, that's dope. I think both me and Eddie can attest to that. For me, self-development is key. Kind of not only reading and learning, but putting those things into practice. Something that you said, like, the time, whether it's waking up early, it's late. One of my favorite books, I don't know if you ever read, is The Miracle Morning.
I've heard of it. I'm really good at reading chapter 1s, and then I kind of just like stop.
Are you audiobook?
No, not even. Like, I love listening to podcasts and stuff, but I'm not even, I know that I would love audiobooks, but I'm like, I'm going to listen to an audiobook, and then some new song hits the radio, and I'm like, I'm going to listen to this 8 million times in a row. So like I want to get into audiobooks, and like I just bought Gary Vee's new book, and I know that I'm going to love it. I know I'm going to get a laugh from it, but I read chapter 1, and then for whatever reason I stopped. I'm like, I guess, like Harry Potter, I read chapter 1. That's why whenever people ask me my favorite book, I'm like Captain Underpants. Like, it sounds so weird,
I had all
like,
of them.
Dave Pilkey, like, it's a picture on every page. Yeah. It's a small little text on every page, and then you get the little flip in the middle. To be honest,
I think that was what made me like graduate like middle school. Yes. Because otherwise, you know how you gotta like get your green credits? Yes. Captain Underpants. Through. I had all of them.
Then like I got to 5th grade, and they're like, you have to read a chapter book, and I'm like, what about Captain Underpants? Because it's theoretically a chapter book. They're like, no, it actually has to have some words in it, and I'm like, oh man, now I can't do that. My time has run out. But I mean I'm great at reading those books, and now they're actually coming out with new ones. So I know that I'm totally out of that age group, but I'm tempted to buy the new Dave Pilkey books, because I'm like, man, I'm going to love them. I'm going to read them all the way through, and I know that I am. But I actually there's one book that I read through that holds true. I forget the title of it, but I know that Keith Harrell is the author. He was a motivational speaker that actually died of cancer, which is one of those like ironic tidbits to look at from an outside perspective, because you're like, this man was a great person, helped so many people, did so many great things for the world, and yet he gets that hand of bad luck, and you're like, it just sucks to see, because he could have influenced so many even more people. But I do forget the name of the book. Well, I'm sure you're looking it up right now. Yeah. I want to say it's called Attitude is Everything. I want to say that's the title of it. But I read that book. That book got me through high school, because in high school I was such an outcast, and like I wasn't on the football team, I was on the soccer team, and that was back when calling people field fairies was cool. And in my high school, if you weren't on the football team, you weren't shit. And everybody loved the football players, and they're like, you want to get popular, just be the kicker on the football team. Like, you've got a great leg. And I'm like, but I don't want to play football. Like, the NFL bores me, the NBA bores me. I'm huge into hockey, but my parents wouldn't let me play hockey because of just the fact that every bone in my body could break in one night, sort of thing. And they paid for my teeth to get straightened with braces, and they're like, we don't want that. I'm like, but Mom, I got a full cage and a mouth guard. She's like, I'm not letting you play that. Like, then I'll do it when I'm out of high school, and then you can't say anything. But,
you have the protection until the gloves come off, and then it's like, all right.
Yeah, but it got me through high school, and I actually read through that book like probably 25 times, because it was just
Keith Harrell.
Kevin or Keith? I want to say the title is Attitude is Everything. If you look up Attitude is Everything, space Harrell, I'm sure you'll find it. I don't know how to spell Harrell. I want to say it's Harrell. He was a really tall dude. Ironically, I bring up the basketball and other sports because he was like 7 feet tall, and they're like, why don't you just play basketball? He's like, but I don't want to play basketball. He's like, I'm not good at it. So he went into motivational speaking that way. And there's so many good stories of his life, and it just, I totally took that on a tangent.
Yeah,
but,
you're good.
Um,
yeah, no, nothing's coming up, but I'm sure
we'll pop it up.
Yeah, we'll find it.
Here we go. Yeah. Attitude is everything.
Yeah.
Keith Harold.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's only like 120 pages, so it's like easy
nice.
to digest,
Yeah,
is probably why I got through it all.
That's a quick book, yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas-
10 life-changing steps to turning attitude into action.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I really think that helped me propel into being more, because that got me into like, I wanted to be into psychology, and I'm like, I'll take a class in college on psychology. And then it ended up being like a 200-person lecture hall where on day 1 everybody was there, but day 3 it was only 20 people.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm kind of bored, actually, to be honest. And I got out of that. But, you know, it helped me develop more about why things happen and how you can approach it. Because, as the title of the book says, attitude is everything. And, like, you can change what I say, like, life is 90% what happens and 10% how you react to it sort of thing. And, like, that's really what the book pushes. And I think that that's helped me develop into, okay, well, why do I want to be this brand? What about me will be attractive to these companies? And how can I kind of bridge that all together to just be this kind of powerhouse person without being like a big ego or a big, you know, clickbait or this? Because like my progression on social media is super slow, but it's super how I want it. And I wouldn't want it to be any other way. And I'm totally happy with it. And it sucks to grow so slow sometimes, but I know that 3 years from now, I'm going to be like, I'm glad I did that. And even I do look back 3 years ago and I'm like, I'm glad I stopped clickbait YouTube videos, because they were fun to make and whatever, but it just didn't really work. Like not everybody can be PewDiePie immediately, and then like he doesn't really do the Let's Plays anymore because he just doesn't. I mean, he doesn't like them anymore, and he's evolved to a whole different kind of content, which he still then enjoys making more and is still able to succeed that way. So,
all right. Is there anything? So we want to move to our. I mean, we've been asking questions all along, right? But to our ordinary free, we like to call it our ordinary free question segment.
Yes, which I did not listen to on purpose, so this is going to be totally on the fly.
So first question I would like to ask you is, you got someone graduating, senior year of high school, senior year of college, has no clue what they want to do, doesn't know their next move. What advice would you give that person?
I love this one. I would tell them don't go to college.
Yeah.
Literally, don't go to college. In other countries, they actually have a program in place where they're forced into like trades to see if they like it before they go into college. So like for 2 years after college, they don't let anybody go to college, and you can't apply or anything because they say just try some different things out. I went to college for graphic design, which I love making graphics, and it is part of the whole storytelling thing that I love, but I knew that the job market wasn't right. I didn't really want to like force myself to make a graphic design for a client, and I was good but not great. And I knew that, and I knew that I could like make generic 2D graphics, and like I could make my YouTube banners, and I could like do that stuff, but I knew that I wouldn't be like, you know, making any Fortune 500 graphics by any means. So I dropped out, and I think that's when I started to actually develop myself. I did a few film classes, and quite honestly, I learned, now that I do nothing but photo video, I didn't learn really anything from those classes. They were great classes. I have nothing against college. So if you are thinking about going to college, like I'm not saying don't, but I am saying like really it's okay to like, because especially nowadays people are like, if you don't have a college degree, you're not anything. And now with this 2018 mind of, you know, we're all in this room at that younger age, but yeah, we're all doing our own things, and we're all going to find success in those things. And we're all going to be able to make livings off of those things, because that's just, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how and what and when.
Yeah.
And we're able to create all of this beautiful things that we love without a single ounce of college education. And everything that I do, I couldn't learn in college, because they would teach me, like, I'd learn film techniques, and I'd learn, you know, how to like watch movies, and like I can't watch movies anymore in a movie theater because I'm so focused on, oh my gosh, the composition is so good, or the lighting here is so good, and like I'll have my family like pause the video, and I'm like, do you see what is happening right now? And they're like, no, and I'm like, look at how the film just like, you know, I'm like getting all these like film things, and they're like, can you like, just watch a movie?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm ruined. I can never watch a movie again and not just look at the composition and stuff. But you don't have to just dive right into college, especially if you don't know what to do. Try some things out. Look at other people that, you know, like if these days you're on Twitter. So if you're graduating high school and you're on Twitter or any social platform, you obviously have people that you look up to. What about them do you like? What about them do you want to be for yourself? Even when we were at, again, I'm going to bring it up again, but people at the LinkedIn local, they're like, well, I don't really know how video can appropriate what I'm trying to do. I'm like, what do you want to do? Because basically they'd come to a LinkedIn local and they'd be like, well, I don't really have anything on LinkedIn that I'm trying to build. And I'm like, but you paid money. You're here. And it is specifically a LinkedIn local. So what did you come here hoping to get out?
Right.
And that's where they're like, well, and I'm like, so maybe that's where you should go. Mm-hmm. So kind of, you can work that in your own life and say, take a step back and what do I want to do? What am I really passionate about? You can get a job to pay for, like I got jobs to then pay for myself to still have time to do side hustle. And soon it will be my full-time job in a 5-year span because I spent the time, put in the effort, and now it's going to be that. So I quit college and I said, what do I really want to do? What am I really passionate about? I wanted to be a big YouTuber, that didn't happen. I wanted to be a popular Twitch streamer, that didn't happen. And I still loved aspects of both of those things, and I applied them to then what I really found passion in photo video. And like photo video was a part of all of the YouTube and the Twitch. I took photos of myself that looked very professional before each stream, and I posted on my Instagram, and people loved it. And people started to copy that formula of just looking like a professional, because like even if you have 2 viewers, if you show yourself as a professional, people are going to be like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing, and they're going to be more inclined to stay. So find out what you really love and see how you can get there. Fail all you want. Failure is not bad. Failure is where most people find success the next time. People are so afraid of failing, and it's when you fall flat on your face that you can get up, and then when you're standing there after with all the dirt on your face and you're like looking around, like that's totally a literal metaphor, but you get up and you stand up and okay, well now you have all of this space in front of you. So what do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
What's the best advice you've gotten? Who has given it to you?
Oh gosh, I've gotten so much good advice. I think the best advice is just to be me. Because people love me when I'm me. And that's so weird because, like, some days I feel like me, and some days I'm like, yeah, I really just didn't feel like myself. But, like, I know that people love me, and I'm starting to leverage that people love me as me. And I don't need to try and be anything else because, like, even with especially YouTube, I tried to be PewDiePie. I tried to be all of these creators. And that's when people were like, yeah, I didn't really hit the mark. But then when I was on Twitch, people were like, you could play any game. I don't care. I'm here for you. And I would have 10, 15 people that would go no matter what game I played. And I'm like, you got to find anybody that asks me Twitch advice. I'm like, you got to find those people that like you for you. And then you can start to leverage that and say, maybe I can play this game and play games that I actually really like instead of just what I think is going to be popular. And that's when I found the most success. And that's when, anybody that's like, just be you. And my mom and I all the time at home always will tell each other, just do you. Because it's like, you have to do you. Because you're not anybody else. You are you. That will never change. You can build who you are into anybody that you want. You're never going to be this person, whether it's plastic surgery or whatever. You're never going to be that person. So just enjoy being you. You're only going to get one shot at it, so just love it. Embrace it. Have fun with it. Yeah.
If you can have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and where would you take them?
This is a good thinker. Dead or alive, I would love, this is going to be totally off the wall, and I know that I'm going to come with like 8 different answers that I want to say right now after we're done, but I'm going to go with my past grandpa, because he was a man that would weld till his heart's content, because he grew up on a farm, manual labor was his thing, if he needed something, he had it on the farm. He made clothes, he made food, whatever. And then he got into welding. And all of our family's homes' railings are all his welding. Not all of our furniture, obviously, but he has pieces in everybody's homes that he welded, and they're like today you could sell it for like $1,500 for an end table. I mean, it is just spirals and just immaculate welding work, but he would never charge for it. And I wanted to sit down actually with both him and grandma, both on my dad's side, both passed. I still have both grandparents on my mother's side, but both of them, because they both passed when I was like 13, 15, and I was just kind of developing into who I am, and I want to sit down with them now as a mature person, because they have so much to offer in terms of just value as human beings, that I would love to sit down with them and just because this is going to be totally off the wall, but whether or not people believe, there is definitely something that happens after you pass, and my grandma has always loved monarch butterflies, and we have this hankering of anytime you see a monarch, it's probably her. I've never seen more than one monarch together at a time since she passed. And every time that I see a monarch, it's in like the most meaningful moments of my life. So 2 years after she passed, we were at my aunt's house on my mom's side. And it's my father's mother that had passed. And it was his birthday. On that day, we're all sitting outside, and a monarch comes and sits right on his shoulder. And just chills. Yeah. Like 20, 30 seconds, just sitting there. And we all look, and we all just start bawling our eyes out. Of course,
yeah. And how do you feel it?
Like, oh my gosh. And even, like, so my mom is very good at saying, at knowing in her heart if my life choices are going to succeed or not, whether it's relationships, whether it's job, career, whatever. So as I'm building this relationship with now my fiance, she lives in Canada. So I brought the family to where she lives, and we experienced her space. And every day, a monarch butterfly showed up in different places, subtly.
That's crazy.
You know, when we look for her, she's not there. But when we least expect her to be there, she's there. And it's like, I'm sorry, you can't deny that. Like, there's something there. Yeah. And it gave me confidence, like, this is where I want to be. And even there are times where, like, I'll be on a film shoot, and all of a sudden I'll see this monarch when just in my head I'm like, yeah, okay, what if this doesn't pan out? All of a sudden I'll see a monarch, and I'm like, yes, Grandma, I know. This is what you want me to do. Yeah. So, like, I want to sit down with dinner with them and really just, like, what do you think of, you know, just get validation. Because I think that, you know, you look to family members to get that validation, positive or negative. So, like, I see them through all of these different life moments, and I'm like, you know, and my grandpa is fish, and all of a sudden, you know, like, my sister, when she got married, had a fish in her bouquet. And it just was this instant connection. It was, you know, there are total accidental moments where it's like, oh my gosh, Grandpa, yes, I know. So I'm so bad with tangents, but as I'm picking out an engagement ring for my fiance, I went to 2 places. And after I got done at the first place, I had seen a monarch, literally as I walked out the door. And I'm like, okay, so Grandma likes this one. Grandma really likes this ring. She thinks that that's the one. We go into the next place, and the first thing out of the woman's mouth, I'm going carp fishing. And that's my grandpa's thing. Like, that's totally what my grandpa did every day in his retirement. He fished, and she just got instantly on top of fishing. And I'm like, okay, so Grandpa likes this one. He's all about this one. Grandma won in the end, but it just was so surreal because, like, it was validation for me. And that's all that I needed. I knew right then and there that was the right choice. Mm-hmm. And even in the car on the way home, as I'm thinking about which ring I'm going to choose to propose with, my mom and I are like, all right, is Grandpa going to win or is Grandma going to win? And it ended up being that Grandma won. And I'm like, so I took it to their grave, and I'm like, you know, you won, Grandma. So I gave it, you know, there's little mementos on their grave, and I gave it to the memento. I'm like, you won. You know, I showed it to her. I'm like, you got it. It's beautiful, and it worked. And she said yes, and awesome. And all that stuff. But, like, I want to sit down with them and just, like, okay, so you're not showing me monarchs anymore. You're not showing me fish anymore. Tell me, talk to me. Yeah. What do you really think? Like, I see all these symbols going on, but, like, I want to talk. So that's definitely who I want to sit down with.
That's awesome. Obviously, the show's called Ordinary Freaks.
Yes.
It's open to interpretation, to whatever you want to, you know, go about it. But on the scale from 1 to 10, how weird are you? How much of a freak are you, and why?
Okay. How weird am I? Probably an 8. I don't think of myself as a very normal person, and that's what I love and embrace. Freak, probably about a 13, and I use that in the sense of, like, I mean, freak obviously have so many different connotations, but I'm using it more as like a misfits type of thing, like what we're building, and like I went against the mold. I didn't go to college, I didn't go to school, I have no supplemental education of what I'm doing right now, and yet I'm killing it, and I'm crushing it, and I'm loving it, and I think that just going against the grain is when you have the most fun. When people say do this, and you totally throw it out the window and you do something different, and it crushes it, and you're like, I told you.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, yes, I'm totally a freak, absolutely, because that's what makes it different than what they want you to do, what other people want you to do. You're like, no, I'm not gonna. What you want me to? No, heck no, I'm gonna do it this way. And they're like, but why? And then you show it to them succeeding, and they're like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
And then you build their knowledge, and then you build. So yeah, I'd absolutely say that's definitely scale of 1 to 10, and why.
Awesome. Well, I mean, before we let you go, where can people find you? You know, LinkedIn, anything, plug anything, future stuff. This is your time.
So anywhere you look on the internet, Didslive, Didslive. Dids is a play on the last name Didier. That's how I got stuck with that. It was my dad's nickname, and then he doesn't have anybody that calls it to him anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to take it then. So kind of became my moniker. But Didslive, on anywhere you search, literally will find me. I guess I'm just going to plug, Q and I are starting a storytelling business. We're going to be creative storytellers and just tell people's stories and really dive into, like I've been saying with like the video and the photo of like, and this is even a story of, you've dove so much deeper into me than I ever knew that I could talk about sort of thing. So like we're going to be creating videos of these people on sponsored content that just is stories and how they got to where they are and why, and it's going to be really short and easy to digest because it's going to be on platforms that people's attention gets lost really quickly. So we know that, and we're going to make it nice and short and sweet and intimate. We want it to be intimate, and I think you can tell a great story, but if it's not intimate, then you're not going to go tell a friend. So we're going to make it so incredibly intimate, and it's funny because I keep saying the word intimate as I'm describing it to people because it's not going to be like, oh, the visuals are going to be great, but it's not about the visuals, it's not about the editing, it's about the intimacy with that person. Because it's a story about them from our brand that has nothing to do about us. Right. It's going to be 100% about that person and being intimate with them. So that when you leave that video, it's only 3-4 minutes long, you know everything about that person, how they tick, how they got to where they are, and you want to go talk to them. That's what we're building. And it's going to be super sweet. It's going to be super fun. We're going to be hosting events all over the city, and we're going to be conquering the city. It's going to be really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys.
Ordinary Freaks, here with another great episode. Please check out Eric's content. It's dope. We're all into it. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.